Salam, peace be upon you. My name is Mohammed Layiq Sediqi, the father of Holophase. Part 23: Reality, Patches, and Local Law. Editing, Constrained Rewrites. Remember the language we are learning. There is one field, phi, the holophase, one continuous cyclic movement from which all of reality unfolds. When phi begins to change, its first derivatives appear, and with them, the three dimensions show themselves at once. Time as omega, space as k, and motion as v, built from both. Every higher derivative is a finer question about how phi changes, and each one casts three shadows together: a time shadow, a space shadow, and a motion shadow. These echoes mix and weave into one another, forming the patterns we call fields, particles, bodies, thoughts, and worlds. In this picture, everything that exists is a living tapestry of phi, endlessly echoing through its derivatives and their dimensional shadows. Today, we listen to just one of those echoes. We stand at the furthest edge of Book 10.4, Reality Engineering. We have built static materials and sculpted dynamic fields. Now, we attempt the most profound act of engineering. We will edit the local laws of physics. Not universally, not forever, but here, in this room, for this experiment, we will create a bounded region where waves move at a different speed, where forces couple in a novel way, where the effective constraint clauses themselves are temporarily rewritten. We call this a reality patch. You are entering the containment forge. This is not a foundry for making things, but for making exceptions. The walls are thick with monitoring sensors. The air is tense with the hum of powerful, precisely tuned drivers. Your console displays not a material or a beam, but a simulated world, a digital twin of the patch and its surroundings, running millions of times faster than reality, searching for any sign that our edit will leak, resonate, or unravel. Your new skill is that of the Patchsmith. You are learning to design, implement, and, most crucially, contain a local, temporary rewrite of reality's grammar. Scene: the containment forge. The chamber is spherical, its inner surface a mosaic of interlocking panels. Some are dull gray absorbers, some are glittering metamaterial cells, some are arrays of tiny actuators. At the very center, suspended by thin fibers, hangs the patch volume, a cube of space, 1 meter on a side. To the eye, it's empty air, but to the sensors covering every panel, it is the canvas for our edit. On your console, the left screen shows the standard world model, the normal laws of physics governing this room: the speed of light c, the dispersion of sound in air, the rules of diffusion. The right screen shows the patch specification, a simple, terrifying line of code. Effective speed of light equals c by 10. Below it, a complex evolving structure, the containment boundary design, a layered skin of metamaterials and active drivers that will enforce the transition from the edited interior to the normal exterior without reflection or leakage. Our puzzle is one of ultimate responsibility. How do we design a spatially bounded region where the effective physical laws are altered in a specific, controlled way, while guaranteeing that the alteration is completely contained, does not create uncontrollable instabilities, and can be cleanly switched off? We are not gods rewriting the universe. We are programmers applying a local, constrained patch. The boundary and exception skill. This part teaches a meta-engineering skill. It is the skill of designing a coherent subsystem with its own effective dynamics, and then designing an interface that cleanly embeds that subsystem within the larger standard world without pathological interactions. Our core question about phi is, given a desired modification to the constraint clauses governing phi within a finite region, what physical structures and active controls must we place at the boundary of that region to ensure that A, the interior behaves according to the modified clauses, and B, the exterior remains completely undisturbed by the modification? We are moving from writing within the language to editing the dictionary for a single paragraph. The anchor image, the surgical isolator. We will use the anchor image of a surgical isolator or a biosafety level 4 lab. Inside the isolator, scientists work with a dangerous virus. The interior has its own air supply, its own rules. The glovebox glass and the negative pressure gradient form a containment boundary that prevents the virus, the modified law, from escaping into the wider lab, the standard world. The patch is the virus. Our metamaterial boundary and active drivers are the glove box and airlock. Our job is to design an isolator so perfect that not a single viral particle of our edited physics leaks out. The coherence selection principle in patching. In patch design, coherence is doubly critical: internal coherence and isolation coherence. Constructive resonance, alignment, means inside the patch, the new laws are self-consistent and support stable phenomena. At the boundary, the transition is impedance-matched. Waves pass from the altered medium to the normal medium without reflection, as if they were the same. The patch is a harmonious, sealed enclave. Destructive resonance, dissonance, means inside the patch, the new laws lead to runaway resonances or instabilities. Energy blows up. Or, at the boundary, waves are partially reflected, setting up standing waves that leak energy, or they couple to radiative modes that spray the edited physics out into the environment. The patch is either internally incoherent or leaks incoherently. The Patchsmith's mantra is about absolute containment. If coherence breaks, we stop. If coherence returns, we continue. If the mesoscopic simulator shows any leakage or internal instability, we stop the design process. We do not proceed to physical implementation. Core mechanisms: engineering, the exception, and the seal. Creating a patch involves two intertwined designs: the altered interior and the containing boundary. 1. Engineering the altered interior, the new local law. We have two primary methods to change effective laws inside a region. Extreme metamaterials. We structure matter so that its collective response to waves is described by a new set of material parameters. A negative index metamaterial makes the effective speed of light negative along a direction, leading to negative refraction. A slow light waveguide, like a photonic crystal, creates a flat band in the dispersion relation, meaning the group velocity, omega by dk, is nearly zero. Light crawls. The frozen phi pattern of the material's geometry directly encodes the new law. We subject a system to rapid periodic driving. This can dress the system, changing its effective Hamiltonian. For example, shaking an optical lattice of ultra-cold atoms can change the tunneling rate between sites, effectively altering the mass of the atoms. The new law is active, existing only while the drive is on. It's a dynamic patch. 2. Engineering the containing boundary, the perfect seal. This is the true art. The boundary must manage the discontinuity between two different sets of physical laws. Impedance matching. For waves, the impedance is a property that dictates how much of a wave is reflected at an interface. We design the boundary as a graded transition layer. Over a finite thickness, the effective parameters, like refractive index, change smoothly from their interior value to their exterior value. This is like a ramp for waves, preventing the cliff that causes reflection. Absorptive layers. For any wave energy that might still reach the outer edge of the boundary due to imperfections, we surround the transition layer with a perfectly matched layer, PML, in simulation, or an absorbing blanket in reality. This material is designed to dissipate incoming wave energy without reflection, like a deep, soft carpet that silences footsteps. Active cancellation. As a final safety measure, we can place an array of sensors and actuators just outside the nominal boundary. They monitor for any leakage field and emit a destructive interference signal to cancel it in real time. This is an active containment force field. The coherence criterion: internal consistency and containment. Our coherence criterion for a valid patch is twofold. Internal coherence. The altered laws must be self-consistent within the patch and not lead to internal resonances that blow up. For example, a negative refractive index material must not have a gain medium that leads to exponential amplification of stray light. Isolation coherence. The patch must be contained. There must be no measurable leakage of the altered physics beyond the designed boundary. A patch that satisfies both is a coherent embedded exception. The dissonance indicator: leakage and runaway resonance. The primary dissonance indicators are leakage and internal runaway. Leakage: detecting the signature of the altered law outside the patch boundary. For a slow light patch, this would mean measuring slow light radiating from the sides of the waveguide. For a Floquet-driven patch, it might be detecting the drive frequency leaking out as radiation. Leakage indicates containment failure. The patch is bleeding. Internal runaway resonance. The patch design, when simulated, shows an instability. A small fluctuation grows exponentially, sucking energy from the drivers until the simulation hits a numerical ceiling or predicts physical destruction, melting, arcing. This indicates the new laws are internally incoherent. They support a destructive, unbounded resonance. Either indicator means the patch design is invalid and must be abandoned or redesigned. The safety rail: boundedness, off switches, and simulated ecology. Our safety rail is multi-layered and non-negotiable. 1. The boundedness proof. Before any physical build, we must have a mathematical and simulation proof that the patch's effects decay exponentially or are strictly zero outside the boundary. This is not a hand-wavy argument. It's a formal analysis of the wave equations with the designed boundary conditions. 2. The physical off switch. No patch is allowed to be permanent. It must have a clean, fail-safe off switch. For a metamaterial patch, this might mean the material can be physically removed or heated past a phase transition that erases its special properties. For a driven patch, it means turning off the drive. The system must return to the normal state predictably and completely. 3. The mesoscopic simulator test, ecology simulator. The patch design must be run in a multiphysics digital twin that simulates not just the patch, but a volume of standard world around it, including realistic noise, thermal effects, and potential external perturbations, like a vibration or a stray radio signal. This simulator must run for a simulated time orders of magnitude longer than the intended patch operation, looking for any late-time instability or leakage. Passing this test is the final gate before physical implementation. The safety rail rule. Any patch design that lacks a boundedness proof, a physical off switch, or fails the mesoscopic ecology simulator is categorically rejected. A measurement scene, the slow light waveguide. Let's enact our roadmap's measurement scene. Scene: a slow light waveguide, a 1D patch where the effective speed of light is reduced to 1% of st. The patch: a photonic crystal waveguide, a line of defects in an otherwise periodic structure. The geometry creates a dispersion relation with a very small slope, group velocity, at our operating frequency. The boundary: the waveguide is finite. At its ends, the periodic structure is tapered. The holes gradually change size and spacing to match the impedance of the incoming-outgoing regular optical fiber. This is the impedance-matching transition layer. The pass: contained patch. 1. Measurement inside. We inject a short light pulse at the correct frequency into one end. We time its arrival at the other end. The traversal time is 100 times longer than for a pulse traveling the same distance in a standard fiber. Internal law verified. Hezbollah 2. Measurement outside, containment. We use a near-field optical probe to scan along the sides of the waveguide. We detect only an exponentially decaying evanescent field, no propagating slow light radiation. The pulse energy is fully contained within the guide. Containment verified. Hezbollah 3. Off switch. We change the temperature of the photonic crystal, shifting its band structure. The slow light condition is lost. Light travels at normal speed again. Reversibility verified. Pass. We have a functioning, contained, reversible patch. The fail: leaky or non-functional patch. The pulse travels at normal speed. The design frequency was wrong, or fabrication errors destroyed the flat band. The edit wasn't applied. The pulse is slowed, but a significant portion of its energy is scattered out the sides as radiation, perhaps due to disorder in the crystal. The near-field probe detects propagating light away from the waveguide. Containment failure. This patch is dangerous. It's radiating unknown physics into the lab. Hezbollah. In both cases, we do not proceed. We return to design or fabrication. The prediction spine, the hallmarks of a successful patch. A properly designed and contained patch yields a clear prediction spine. 1. Sharp law transition. Measurements inside the patch will show the altered law. For example, speed of light equals c back 10, negative refraction. Measurements immediately outside, beyond the boundary layer, will show the standard law, with precision limited only by sensor noise. 2. Exponential decay. The patch's influence, any stray field, will decay exponentially with distance outside its designed boundary. The decay length is a predictable function of the frequency and the boundary design. 3. Conservation law enforcement. Attempts to create a patch that appears to violate global conservation laws, for example, a patch that seems to create energy from nothing, will fail by inevitably coupling to radiative modes that drain the required energy from the drivers or the surrounding field. The universe's global accounting forces local exceptions to be paid for at the boundary. Falsifiability, the ultimate test of containment. Our falsifiability threads are the final guardians against self-deception. Falsifier 1. Operational non-existence. If a patch's effects are undetectable by any external probe, if the altered law inside has no measurable consequence that can be communicated outside, even via a probe that enters and exits, then the patch is operationally non-existent. It is a solipsistic fantasy. A real patch must allow for controlled interaction, like sending a probe in and getting a delayed signal out, without uncontrolled leakage. Falsifier 2. Simulator rejection, the primary gate. If a patch intended to be safe triggers a runaway resonance or catastrophic leakage in the mesoscopic ecology simulator, the design is rejected. This is the primary falsification. The simulator is our synthetic universe saying no. We must listen. No amount of hand-waving or the real system might be different overrules a simulator failure. We go back to the drawing board. These falsifiers ensure that patches are real, contained, and safe, not just conceptual playgrounds. Triunity in a patch. A patch is a triune object of engineering. Time echo, the drive response. The altered law often involves a new temporal response, slow time, periodic driving. This is the rhythm inside the patch. Space echo, the boundary geometry. The containment is achieved through spatial structuring, the graded index profile, the absorber geometry, the actuator array positions. This is the texture of the seal. Motion echo, contained dynamics. The result is a new kind of motion, slow propagation, bending the wrong way, that is strictly confined to a volume. The motion is born from the new time rules and bounded by the spatial seal. A failed patch is a failure in one of these echoes. Wrong temporal drive causing instability, flawed spatial boundary causing leakage, or uncontrolled motion breaking containment. Lanterns across scales. Patches in the wild. The concept of a local effective law is not new. We are just learning to design them intentionally. Near scale, electronic band engineering. A semiconductor heterostructure is a patch for electrons. The different materials create different potential landscapes, different laws for electron motion. The carefully engineered interface, the boundary, confines electrons to a 2D plane, creating the quantum well for lasers and transistors. This is a naturally occurring static patch we have learned to build. Middle scale, urban quiet zones. A city district with active noise cancellation systems on its perimeter is an acoustic patch. Inside, the effective law is sound is cancelled. The boundary is the array of microphones and speakers that enforce this by destructive interference, preventing the quiet law from leaking out. It only works on incoming noise. Alcubierre drive, warp drive, is a space-time patch. The proposal is to create a region of space-time, the bubble, with modified geometry, expanding behind, contracting ahead, to achieve effective faster-than-light travel. The immense challenges are classic patch problems: the need for exotic matter, the altered interior law, the potential for catastrophic radiation at the boundary, the horizon problem, and the impossibility of turning it on from inside, the lack of an internal off switch. It serves as a lantern illuminating the extreme difficulties of patching gravity itself. The ethics of patching, the ultimate containment ethic. The ethics of patching is the ethics of ultimate containment and reversibility. 1. Consent of the uninvolved. A patch is an experiment that could, if it fails, affect people who did not consent. Therefore, the primary ethical duty is to ensure containment. The boundedness proof and ecology simulator are ethical documents. They are our argument that the uninvolved will not be affected. 2. Reversibility as a core design spec. The off switch is not an optional feature. It is an ethical requirement. We cannot create permanent alterations to shared reality without infinite consensus. All patches must be temporary and reversible. 3. Auditability of the seal. Every patch operation must be logged with full sensor data from the boundary monitors. This log is the containment audit trail. If any anomaly is later detected in the lab, we can check, did the patch leak? The patch's right to exist is contingent on its proven seal. The power to edit local laws brings the absolute duty to wall off the edit, to make it temporary, and to watch the walls with paranoid intensity. The recognition skill, seeing the embedded exception. You know you need this skill when you encounter a system that behaves as if it's in a different universe, but only in a specific place and under specific conditions. A microwave oven cavity. Inside, the laws of electromagnetism are dominated by a specific resonant mode, creating intense, localized heating. The metal box and mesh door are the containment boundary. A superconducting magnet's bore. Inside, magnetic fields are enormous and persistent, a law of flux trapping not present outside. The cryostat and coil structure are the boundary. A virtual reality headset. To your visual system, the effective law of optics is rewritten. The headset screens and lenses are the boundary of that sensory patch. The moment you see a bounded region with specialized, exceptional behavior, you are seeing a proto-patch. The Patchsmith's craft is to turn such accidental exceptions into designed, programmable, and perfectly contained tools. The master tree location. This part, 10.4.4, is the penultimate peak of book 10.4. It depends on 10.4.1, material design, for the internal metamaterial, on the 10.4.5 ecology simulator for the ultimate safety test, and on the principles of 10.8.2 containment for its ethical and operational framework. It represents the edge of engineering, the furthest we can go in directly rewriting physical behavior. It enables the final test, ecology testing 10.4.5, where we put our patches through hell in simulation before ever building them. And it opens the door to the horizons of ultimate mastery, 10.9.1, where we contemplate the limits and responsibilities of such power in a cosmic context. Return to the file. Let us zoom out. A reality patch is a region where we have imposed a local set of constraint clauses on the phi field. The phi field inside is forced to obey a different relationship between its derivatives. The boundary is a region where we enforce a smooth stitching between the interior clause and the exterior clause. We are not breaking the universal tapestry. We are knitting a small, intricate, temporary swatch with a different pattern and then sewing it seamlessly into the larger fabric. The universe's one field, phi, is versatile enough to allow for such local, coherent modifications, provided we respect the global need for consistency at the seams. We are learning to be tailors of physics. Zenodo and the equations of the seam. If you want to see the full mathematical derivations and exact equations behind this idea, you can search for Holophase on Zenodo. There you will find the scientific papers that this audio journey is built on. The papers formalize the theory of transformation optics, the math behind metamaterial patches, provide rigorous proofs of boundedness for various boundary conditions, detail the Floquet engineering techniques for driven patches, and present the computational methods for the mesoscopic ecology simulator. They provide the rigorous foundation that makes local law editing a discipline of engineering, not science fiction. So picture yourself in the containment forge. The console shows green across the board. Boundedness proof, valid. Ecology simulator, 10 to the 6 simulated cycles, no leakage. Off switch, ready. You take a breath. You authorize the patch activation. A low hum rises as the drivers power up. On the sensor display, the cube of space at the chamber's center now glows a soft gold, a visualization of the altered dispersion relation. You send a standard laser pulse into it. On the monitor, you watch as the pulse, which should cross the meter in 3.3 nanoseconds, instead crawls. It takes 33 nanoseconds. A clock inside the patch confirms it. Sensors on the spherical wall show nothing but baseline noise. No leakage. The patch holds. You have just created a temporary, tiny universe where light moves at a tenth of its normal speed. You have edited a local law, and you have contained it perfectly. This is part 10.4.4, Reality Patches and Local Law Editing, Constrained Rewrites. It is the summit of Book 10.4, the very edge of our engineering craft. In our final part of Book 10.4, we will subject our designs to the ultimate trial. Before any patch or complex structure ever touches the physical world, it must pass through the Phi ecology simulator. We will learn to build and interrogate a synthetic universe that tests our creations for unintended consequences, hidden resonances, and long-term stability. We will learn to fail safely in simulation so we may succeed safely in reality. Remember, one field, Phi, with its infinite echoes. We have learned to write local edits. Now, we must learn to proofread them in the harshest possible environment, a simulated copy of the world they will enter. Salam and peace be upon you.